Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Leon County Today with Sheriff Walt McNeil. And we've got a fill-in the big chair today. Such a pleasure to have our Assistant Sheriff for Law Enforcement, Dr. Argatha Gilmore. Thank you so much for being here with us.
It's wonderful to be here with you, Shonda.
So Sheriff McNeil out today, but it's such a pleasure to have you. Our topic today, of course, April is Autism Awareness Month. And we've been working over the last several years to really make sure our deputies, our boots on the ground, know how to recognize those signs and know how to then interact with people in our community who might be on the spectrum. And I think it's interesting. We were talking with FSU CARD today and talking about the aspect of what we're going to be doing with them in a partnership to help bring more awareness to our community. This is something that you are familiar with even in your past role.
Yeah, it's very important. As police chief in Lake City 12 years ago, when we started Project Lifesaver, because we saw the importance of when children are missing and then we find out that they have autistic concerns in their lives and their family, we decided to go a little further. We implemented Project Lifesaver. We did the risks to ensure that when it goes off, that our dispatch center ready to find out where they are. So we became really engaged, but just very close to our area, a child was lost. And we saw how important it was to have that in our community as well. Yeah,
and I love the fact that more and more it's shifted from not just awareness, but to acceptance. And to be able to recognize those signs, the approach has to be appropriate. How important is it for the training aspects of this to take place with law enforcement throughout?
When you recognize the signs, you recognize the help, and then we're able to deploy the necessary resources and not only recognize the resources that are available, but we become a resource, that resource to help. And so that's why the training is critical for every first responder to have it. So that's why I'm really excited that we have the awareness and that we're partnering with our community here.
And I can't really wait to share with our viewers out there about this new partnership with the FSU Autism Institute, talking about a resource. They're going to be able to go to the FSU Autism Institute and receive an item that will help law enforcement identify them in case of an interaction there. And these are the kind of forward-thinking things that Sheriff McNeil's administration is really known for, really groundbreaking and collaboration. I think we call it all in.
All in, absolutely all in.
All right, well, we're looking forward to having you have that conversation coming up in just a few minutes. So be sure to stick around out there, everyone. We're talking about raising awareness and acceptance for autism. But first, let's check in with Jimmy Goodman with our Crime Tip Tuesday.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jimmy Goodman with the Leon County Sheriff's Office, and this is your Crime Tip Tuesday. How to protect yourself when walking alone. Time's changing again. A lot of people are waking up early in the morning to get their exercise before they go to work. Here's a few tips to make sure you're safe. Avoid the dark, vacant, and deserted areas and use well-lit, well-traveled routes. Avoid the dark hours if you can. Always carry a flashlight with you and your cell phone. Dress in reflective clothing and comfortable shoes which will not hamper movement. If you think you're in trouble, move away from that person or that threat if possible. Join any group of people nearby. If they're across the street or in front of you, increase your pace. Have a great week. Be safe out there.
Welcome back. And joining me now is Catherine Zenko with FSU Autism Institute. Kathy, it's Autism Awareness Month. So what should our viewers know about this campaign?
Well, April is traditionally Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month, and it allows us to take 1 month out of the year to really focus and do a push to educate the community, to let them know, what is autism, to let them know what they can do with individuals in their community, to include them, to make them feel accepted. But anybody who has a loved one with autism will tell you it doesn't stop in April. So it just gives us this opportunity to really take this month and highlight and focus and see what can we do to educate our community.
Great. So let's talk about that. So what's the difference between acceptance versus awareness?
Well, we have to start with awareness. Awareness comes first. First, we need to know that something is there, and that's where this campaign first started as an Autism Awareness Month. But the more we got into it, we wanted more out of it. We don't want just people to be aware about autism. We want them to understand it and then accept, everybody is human. We may think or do things a little bit differently, but the more that people know, the more they understand, and the more they are likely to be accepting of people who may present a little bit differently.
Oh, interesting. So it seems more and more that adults are seeking diagnosis, and if that's true, how should someone go about knowing the process?
Sure. So I don't know if I can't quote the statistics to you right now about if more adults are going for a diagnosis, but we are seeing that, the awareness is working. People know what autism is versus 20 years ago. So we are really getting that information out, so people are thinking. Oftentimes you'll have parents who take children to get diagnosed, and then when they're talking and going over, they're like, that sounds maybe like something I experienced in childhood. So it's not always that, but anybody can get a diagnosis. There's no age limit. Autism is a lifelong condition. And so typically people who do diagnoses in your community are going to be your physicians, your psychologists, your neurologists. So seeking out anybody with those credentials would be able to help get a diagnosis.
Right. So that leads us to about the resources that are in our community. So what are resources available to our local residents with autism?
Sure. Well, I'm going to tell you first about the FSU Center for Autism and Related Disabilities, which is part of the FSU Autism Institute. So the FSU CARD, for short, is one of 7 CARD centers in the state of Florida. So Florida, over almost 30 years ago, said, we need regional autism centers for our citizens. And so we have been in statute for almost 30 years, providing individual assistance and training and public awareness, not just in April, but all throughout the year for our communities. And it's funded by our Florida legislature, so there's no fee to anybody who is registered with any of the CARD centers of Florida. So that's one aspect, and we serve all ages, from infancy to adulthood. There are also lots of resources for children 0 to 3. That would be Early Steps in Florida, which is a program for diagnosis and intervention for children with delays from 0 to 3. Our school systems are wonderful resources for our school-aged children. And then we have other agencies like vocational rehab and other agencies around Florida that are helping adults.
That's great. Thanks, Kathy. So coming up next, that is phenomenal information that we have. Coming up next is LCSO partnership with FSU Autism Institute and how law enforcement can identify persons doing a traffic stop who have autism.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, and we're back with Catherine Zenko, FSU Autism Institute. And Catherine, I'm really excited about our partnership. And listen, will you tell our viewers, and I'm excited to hear more about it as well, about our new seatbelt covers that we're offering?
Absolutely. We are thrilled to be partnering with Leon County Sheriff's Office. And one of these things that is developed out of our partnership is these beautiful seatbelt covers that LCSO printed. It says all in, and it says autism, may not respond, may be unaware of danger, may resist help. So this is one way that first responders, if they encounter somebody in a vehicle who is in distress or who may need the help of a first responder, you can get these, and I'm going to rip it open and show you. It's just Velcro, and you Velcro it around the seatbelt where the loved one with autism will be sitting. So it can be for children, it can be for adults. One thing about autism that I think is unique is that when you look at somebody with autism, they don't look any different than anybody else walking around. So if you're a first responder and you're coming up and you're saying, can I help you? Do you need help? And they're not responding, they may be a little puzzled. So this gives us a way to let the first responders know, oh, I remember that training we had to do. This person has autism. Maybe I need to use pictures. Maybe I don't need to worry if they can't respond. So this is a really nice way to communicate in a stressful situation where those words may not be there. The first responder can see this, and then the parents and the people with autism can feel comfortable knowing that first responder will have a cue that says, I may handle this situation a little differently and I might need some help.
That is great, and we love to be able to easily identify when we can help. So can you tell our viewers how they can get the seatbelt covers?
Absolutely. So in our partnership, we've decided that the LCSO is giving the FSU Center for Autism the bulk of the supply of these. So individuals can reach out to us. Our website is very easy. It is just www.fsucard.com. We have an email address that is autism@med, like the College of Medicine, .fsu.edu. People can request them there. We're also going to have LCSO keep some on hand, just so that in the event of an emergency or you run into citizens who may need one of these seatbelt covers, that they will have them as well. But we will be in charge of holding the majority of them, advertising this out to all of our clients. The FSU card covers 18 counties in our panhandle, not just Leon County. But Leon County is definitely our largest population. So we'll be sure to let all of those residents know that if they would like a seatbelt cover, they can go ahead and contact us, and we'd be happy to give it to them.
Kathy, this is absolutely phenomenal. And so this partnership goes far beyond just seatbelt covers. You're going to be coming back for a second year to work with our deputies at LCSO. And we're really excited about that. Tell us about that training.
Absolutely. So this Friday, actually, I will be going and doing a training for all of the school resource officers here in Leon County. Last year was the first time that I had done that, and ironically, it was my first live training back from COVID. So every other training that we did during COVID was all remote, and that was my very first one back with live people. They were lovely. They were very forgiving, as I had to remember how to do a presentation live in front of people. But we're just so thrilled and honored to have that opportunity to get all of the school resource officers in a room together, where not only, listening to what I have to say, but then they get to share, their experiences with students with autism, because we have elementary school SROs, middle school, high school. It's all very different, and they don't ever get a whole lot of time to just really compare notes. So this is going to be a nice collaborative conversation that we have on Friday.
This sounds great, because one of our mantras, our motto, and what we believe in the Leon County Sheriff's Office is All In Initiative. So what can the people in our community do to be more aware and accepting with our community members with autism?
Well, nowadays, the new prevalence statistics came out just December of 2021, and 1 in 44 children are diagnosed or have a diagnosis on the autism spectrum. So the likelihood that you know someone these days is pretty high. And so I think just maybe taking a little time, reaching out to those people in your community, in your neighborhood, in your families, in your faith group, and just get to know, ask them questions, just sit and interact with some of these individuals on the spectrum. And I think it will surprise you that there's so much to learn from everybody. And I think if we can take the stigma off of that a little bit and just say, oh, okay, you have autism. You maybe think a little differently. You may have a little trouble communicating, but that's okay. We can still have a conversation, and what can you teach me? So I think it's a mindset shift.
Thank you, Kathy. Listen, Kathy, you have so much information. So in about 30 seconds, can you tell our viewers and how can they learn more about FSU Autism Institute?
Absolutely. Well, as I said earlier, FSU Card is part of the larger Autism Institute. So going to our website, you will be able to find more information. Also going to some of the projects that are developed in the Institute, which is the Autism Navigator and Baby Navigator. These are all websites for people to learn more about what they can do, learning signs early, how to interact with their children.
Wow. Thank you, Kathy. Listen, we've had such a wonderful time. Thank you so much for learning, teaching us rather, more about autism. Coming up next, our deputy on duty, as we go behind the scenes with our school resource officers as they go through new training. Stay tuned.
So we've been doing some range work, work with pistols and rifles, as well as some room clearing techniques, preparing for the worst case scenario, an active shooter at one of our schools. We're doing threat recognition drills, as well as shooting with and around a partner that may respond to the schools with us. And it's not the first time we've been doing active shooter training, but it's the first time that we've used this facility, and we're grateful to do it. Great training and state-of-the-art facility.
Simulate that this is a small target. You got kids in front of this target. You got kids on the right and the left. You got kids behind them. It is important for you to hit your target. Make sure we hit our target.
We've been doing a little bit of everything, some new trainings going on. We are on the range working as like teams for different shooting scenarios. We went into the what we call the shoot house over there, which basically is we're single response active shooter for like schools and practice and things like that, preparing us for if we do have backup that respond to our calls. It's a good thing to have for any unit, not just the school resource unit, but for patrol or wherever. But basically it was practicing where you're in a team, preparing us for being aware of each other's presence so we're not flagging each other when we're shooting different threats. And they had different targets in different colors in basically a circle, and they would call out a color like pink or black, and then we'd have to basically find where that threat was and kind of be aware of each other's presence so we're being safe as well as shooting the threat. And I think it's important that we do train more like that, because typically if you're going to an active shooter call at the school or just wherever, you're going to have backup. So it's good to train so we're used to having someone where we're aware when we are trying to find the threat and shooting the threat. They have a lot to offer here. It's good to have a new environment, also good to do some new trainings out here. So yeah, I think it's helping prepare us for sure.
You have to decide what to do, when to do it, and then when you get there, we have to decide if there's a threat or not. And we have all different targets with different, some were friendly, some were threats. So we had to address the targets and continue clearing the room. And it's, you want to move, you want to do it fast, but you also want to do it safely and do it right, of course. So it's good to get a chance to come out here and try these new techniques. They feed into each other as they build on each other. So it's great we started just doing everything dry, just without firing, and then, kind of level up, progress to shooting and more complex drills, and finally some scenarios in the shoot house. The feedback you get from the instructors on the ground and also with the bird's eye view is second to none. So they really see what your mistakes are and what you did right, and hopefully we improve the next time we go.
You're responding to your school for reports of an active shooter.
We were single response shooting, so it's just us clearing rooms in and out, kind of assessing the threat to see, is it a kid or is it, someone who's a bad guy with a gun. So that's kind of, getting us to where we're used to our heart being amped up, but we can also take the time to assess our threats and things like that. We also are doing the heart monitors. Basically, it monitors our heart rate and different things like that after a big adrenaline spike or something that's going on like that.
After a stressful event or stressful situation that deputies go to, just responding to any type of call or any type of incident, your heart rate spikes, of course, and then heart math teaches us to bring it down between calls so we're not carrying that stress from one call throughout the day. It's very helpful, and then there's an app and we get to see our results on it. That is new to me, and it's incredible.
It's just important to stay on our game. A lot of us work at the schools, or at least covers at schools, so it kind of keeps us in practice in case something really does happen, an active shooter situation does occur. We're well prepared for what's going on.
Welcome back to Leon County Today, and it's been a full episode today with Assistant Sheriff Dr. Gilmore sitting in at the big table today and doing a great job. Sheriff, better watch out. That's all I'm just going to say. Well, let's talk a little bit about today's episode. Under your umbrella of law enforcement are our school resource deputies. We saw in our Deputy on Duty segment some of that behind the scenes intense training, because some of these environments, I think, sometimes we forget, they walk into a situation, they have no idea what they're going to run into. But that training is so essential to making sure they're ready to protect our most vulnerable in our community.
And Shauna, that was so great for the show and for our viewers to know of all the intricacies of our school resource deputies, because you're right, they are protecting our most precious precious jewels in our community. So it's not just standing there and directing traffic, but it's about protecting their very lives. And it's wonderful that they get to have all of this training so that they are equipped to do this. So very excited to have this and for our viewers to know about it.
Yeah, well, as a mom of 2 children in the Leon County school system, I feel like we're in very good hands with our school resource deputies. And then, you know, the FSU Autism Institute, you know, like Kathy said earlier, there's so long been a stigma attached to people with autism, but we've learned so much over the years, and having things like this in partnerships is essential to making sure we're taking care of all of our citizens.
Absolutely, and one of the things that she brought out was when you look at persons with autism, they look just like you and I. But training our deputies on how to recognize, and not only recognize, but they have something actually visible to see, is going to help them to do an even better job in making sure that we're protecting our citizens with autism.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to getting these out in the community and helping to raise awareness and acceptance for autism. So thank you so much for being our guest today and holding down the fort for the sheriff.
Johnny, it was amazing to be with you today. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. We hope you have a wonderful day.